Today, we studied 13-million-year-old sediments in search of fossils. The exercise was led by Dr. Ellen Miller, who had collected the sediments from the nearby paleontological site of Napudet. The first step was to dry sieve the sediment. So we poured it onto a screen and looked briefly for any fossils that we might see at that point. We then shook the screen so the smallest particles would fall through, and the larger particles that stayed on the top we discarded. At that point, we had a bucket with only the smaller particles, and we added water to them to break up any clumps. We then passed this mixture through an even smaller sieve in a process known as wet sieving. We searched what remained on the screen, but most of what you might find here is quite tiny and hard to see with the naked eye. For this reason, we distributed the remaining sediment, and each of us used toothpicks and a magnifier to search for fossils. It was oftentimes difficult to differentiate between stone, wood, and the many other materials that one can find in these sediments, but Dr. Miller was able to examine the particles whenever we had questions and tell us what they were. Some of the best finds from our time in the lab were a little piece of tooth enamel by Brooke and a fossilized fish bone by Ben. Both of these fossils belong to creatures that lived about 13 million years ago.